a reality for commercial agriculture. So when we were thinking about the challenge, we wanted to drive down into something that's contained. Agriculture is huge. There's lots of places you can innovate, but we know this is a burning need for the farmers. And a lot of you, because this is really an ag issue, you guys may or may not know about it, but definitely there are customers out there that would be looking to adopt a solution if you guys could come up. So first of all, farmers need a tool to identify the plant or insect issue that they're dealing with. And I'll just go through them and then we can go down into each one. They need to select the proper pesticide. They need to calculate the proper dosage for the required area. And then they need to document that application for its GAP, Good Agriculture Practices, Food Safety Modernization Act that Scott just mentioned, certification. So when you're a farmer, you're faced, a lot of the farmers are elderly, so they know what's going on. They can anticipate the seasons, and they can anticipate the insect pressures that are coming through. But for other people, we want to standardize this so that you're able to see what's going on and know what to do about it. So that means you need to select the proper pesticide that you're going to use. And pesticides can be insecticides or weed control. Then they're going to have to calculate the proper dosage. You think this is easy? Have you ever looked at looking at an pesticide bottle that you buy at Home Depot or whatever? You've got to figure out how to relate that dosage to whatever you're doing in the area that you're covering. So it's not trivial. You need to be able to, because if you use too much, you have a problem. If you use too little, nothing's going to happen. Right? Then you need to document the use. A lot of these people, in the room, they're out technology oriented. A lot of our farmers are not. You're out in the field, it's dusty, you're in a 100-acre farm, you're having to deal with issues out there. How are you going to take all of this information that you need to do and apply it to what you're doing and then bring it back so that you can show that you did the right thing? So that's the whole basis of this challenge. Each one of these things could be a challenge unto itself, but we're just kind of throwing it together for a platform. And you say, okay, well, why if the Department of Ag knows about this, why don't we just pay somebody to do it? Well, first of all, we don't want to own it, because then it just is a specific thing for Hawaii. This is actually a global issue. I've not seen a platform out there that handles these issues on a global level. For instance, we found a platform in India, and it's called HACC, and if you look it up, it's out there, that has 1 million farmers under it. And it's a platform they're using to tie their extension agents to the farmers in their region. They don't have a pesticide area yet. So if you want to look at something that could be monetized, or that's good, it's for Hawaii, but it could be spread all over, this might be one of the vehicles that you're going to look at. But anyway. Okay. So pesticide use is important not only for the farmer, but also the public. Last year, a pesticide bill was passed by the legislature, and the governor signed it. It's an act. So if you look at it, it says restricted use pesticides, they have to be reported on, and it prohibits the use of pesticides within 100 feet of a school. So this is the beginning of the public starting to push back to say, okay, we know that pesticides are being used. We want them to be used safely, and I'm sure there's more bills coming out this year that is going to push even further into agriculture. What the ag side wants to do is to show that we're using it properly and it's a safe usage. So anyway, so there's two parts of this. And there's a link on there that you can get to. From the ag side, okay, There's three things that we really have to work on. One of it is the plant health, because that's the economic driver of our operation, right? Because we're not for fun, we're doing this for commercial business, and we need to sell the product. So it has to be of consistent quality. And that's the whole driver of agriculture. You don't want, when you go to the store, you want to have that whatever you're buying to be of quality that you're willing to eat. And it doesn't want to look funny unless it's an heirloom tomato. They're supposed to look funny. But regularly, you want things that are standardized, right? Okay, also for your workers, you want to do it for their worker safety. And it really is in access to markets now. Places like Costco are leading the nation in standards for the food that they're selling. That's even higher than the federal standard. So as a grower, you're faced with these really high standards that your food has to pass before it can be sold, especially if you want to access certain markets. So that's an issue. Okay, so that being said, pesticide use is administered all over the place, mostly on the Fed level. USDA is involved, EPA is involved, FDA is involved, and at the state level, the Department of Ag supports the certification of farms. Okay, so USDA typically is the institution or organization that supports farmers across the nation at the Fed level. And they have a thing called good agriculture practices. These are general ideas that if you follow, that you're pretty much going to be doing proper things that are properly and safe, and that would lead you toward getting food safety certification. Again, this is deep into the agriculture world, but if you wanted to do something with this app, this is part of the background that you guys are going to have to get a hold of. Oh, and they have GAP, and then they also have good handling practices. But that makes sense, right? After you harvest it, you've got to handle it properly on its way downstream to the consumer. Okay, EPA. They're really concerned about how much pesticides are used, and because it affects the environment and runoff and all those other issues. And they're also wanting to make sure the workers are safe. So they have a thing called Agriculture Worker Protection Standard, which sets when pesticides should be used and how long before your workers have to stay out before they can get back into the fields. Anyway, all this information is out there, but this is more background in the pesticide world. And the big beast that's out there for us is from the FDA. So you have to understand the difference. USDA is really a farmer-based group, but FDA is really for the consumers. And they are starting to dictate, and this gets back to our Costco's and things like that. It's the Food Safety Modernization Act, and they are the ones that are looking at, is food safe? So we know that we have to use pesticides for our operations. Well, we want to use it safely so that all you consumers want to be ensured that the food is safe and you won't be harmed. And this is a moving target. So if you dive deep into the Food Safety Modernization Act, it's still being worked on this. Oops. Okay, so this is the earlier version of my slides, but I have a couple extra. And I have this information if you wanted to talk to me about it. Department of Agriculture actually certifies farmers for pesticide use. We are at King Street, and if you're a farmer and you have employees that want to apply pesticides, you have to come to us, take a test, and then you're cleared for use. If you're using restricted use pesticides, they won't be sold to people without this certification. So there's some level of control out there, right? And UHCTAR is also involved because they provide study packets that you can get information so you can pass it. So anyway, that's kind of what we have for the Ag Challenge. It's a pretty big issue, I think. There's lots of places that you could dig in. There's GIS opportunities. There's working with the pesticide companies to find out matching incidents that are happening and what's the possible solution. And that's pretty deep because all sorts of stuff's happening out there. There's the gathering of data, and you could dig into each piece or the whole thing. I think it's an opportunity to put Hawaii on the map to show that we can innovate in this area, because again, nobody's out there doing this. And every farmer needs this, not only in Hawaii. This is a global issue. Definitely in the US, because they deal with food safety. But everybody's going to start to work this area. Do we take questions or that's all right? Thank you.